They left her for dead at the edge of the ridge, where the mountain fell away into a gray, swallowing fog. The wind howled like something alive, tearing at her torn jacket, stinging her skin, whispering that no one was coming back. Blood seeped slowly from the gash on her side, warm at first, then chilling as the cold crept in. She lay there for a long moment, staring at the sky, trying to understand how it had come to this, how the team she trusted, the people who had sworn to watch each other's backs, had decided she was already gone. Maybe it had been panic, maybe it had been fear, or maybe deep down they had never believed she was strong enough to survive. Her fingers twitched against the frozen dirt. Then, with a quiet, stubborn breath, she pushed herself up. Pain exploded through her ribs, but she didn't cry out. The ridge stretched ahead, jagged and narrow, a natural barrier between the valley below and whatever waited on the other side. If she stayed down, she would die. If she moved, she might still die, but at least it would be on her terms. She pressed her hand against her wound, gritted her teeth, and took her first step. Each movement felt like dragging herself through broken glass. The wind fought her, shoving her sideways, trying to peel her off the mountain like she was nothing. But she leaned into it, boots scraping against stone, breath coming in short, controlled bursts. She wasn't thinking about revenge, not yet. She wasn't thinking about betrayal or anger or the look on their faces when they walked away. All she thought about was the ridge. Hold the ridge, stay alive. Hours, or maybe minutes, time had lost meaning, passed in a blur of effort and pain. At some point, the fog began to shift. Through the shifting gray, she saw movement below, dark shapes, too organized to be random, too deliberate to be harmless. Her heart pounded. They weren't alone out here after all. She dropped to a crouch behind a jut of rock, ignoring the way her vision swam. A patrol, armed, climbing toward the ridge, toward the exact path her team had taken when they fled. If those soldiers reached the top unchallenged, they'd follow the trail, they'd find the others. For a moment, something bitter rose in her chest. Let them. Let them deal with what they'd done. Let the mountain take them all, but the thought didn't last. She closed her eyes just for a second and exhaled slowly. Whatever they had done, whatever choices they had made, she wasn't like them. She wasn't someone who walked away, not even now, not even after everything. Her eyes opened again, sharp despite the pain. She shifted her weight, scanning the ridge, calculating angles, distances, cover. She had limited ammunition, limited strength, but she had the high ground, and she had nothing left to lose. The first shot cracked through the wind, precise and controlled. One of the figures below dropped instantly, the others scrambling for cover. The echo rolled across the mountains like thunder. She didn't wait. She moved, repositioning before they could pinpoint her location, firing again from a different angle. Confusion spread among them. They had expected an empty ridge, not a defender. She became part of the mountain, silent, shifting, relentless. Every shot counted. Every movement was deliberate. Pain faded into the background, replaced by something colder, sharper, focus, survival. The ridge was hers, and she would not let it fall. They tried to advance, inch by inch, but she pushed them back every time. When they flanked left, she struck from the right. When they rushed, she vanished into the rocks and reappeared behind them. The wind carried the sound of her gunfire in strange directions, making it impossible to track her. To them, it must have felt like the mountain itself had turned against them. Time stretched thin. Her hands trembled now, her strength draining with every passing second. Blood loss was catching up to her, her vision blurred at the edges, but still she held. At last, the remaining figures began to retreat, dragging their wounded, disappearing back into the fog they had come from. She watched them go, her weapon still raised, refusing to believe it was over until the last shadow vanished. Only then did she lower the gun. The silence that followed was deafening. The wind softened, as if the mountain itself were finally at rest. She sank to her knees, breath hitching, the weight of everything crashing down at once. She had done it, alone, against the odds, against the betrayal. She laughed then, quiet, almost disbelieving. Not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing left to do. Far below, faint and distant, she heard voices, familiar ones. Her team. They were coming back. Maybe they had realized their mistake. Maybe guilt had dragged them up the mountain again. Or maybe they had simply needed more time to find their courage. It didn't matter. She straightened slowly, wincing as pain flared through her body. When they reached the ridge, the